first point is where I found God. I was 4 the first time I felt God. It wasn't in a church. It wasn't in a Bible. It wasn't anywhere that anyone would call holy. It was behind a dirty, ragged couch where I was pressed up against the wall. And I made myself as small as I could in hopes that he wouldn't see me. He being my biological father, Jimmy. I pressed against that wall so hard I thought my ribs might break. You see, where I came from, you learn real quick how to disappear. Because if you were found, it wasn't good. And so then I heard a silence, y'all, like I had never heard before. It wasn't a vision, it wasn't a sound, but it was a feeling like something bigger than me was curled up behind that couch. And he or she or whatever it was had their arms wrapped around me. And for the first time in a long time, I was safe. And that's the first time I knew that God was with me. You know how like you can feel like a blanket around you, but you don't have anything on but just your regular clothes? That's how I felt. And so looking back, I'm like, yeah, that's the first time God touched my life. And it wasn't in a stained glass window, and it wasn't in the perfect way that we're taught to pray in a beautiful church. Like I said, it was in a ragged trailer behind a dirty couch. So my God was quiet. My God hid in broken trailers with girls like me, and my God hid with me. And so that's the end of point 1. That comes from my book that they use tomorrow on Amazon, both Kindle and paperback, Sacred from the Shattered. I have 2 more if y'all bear with me. So I did a trilogy, and I planned this purposely. Tomorrow would be my adopted mom's, tomorrow, May 1st, would be my adopted mom's birthday. May 11th, my second book comes out, which, as y'all know, is Mother's Day, and then June 15th is Father's Day. So they're all in remembrance of my parents that I've lost. Point 2, and I will try not to cry, but this poem is probably my favorite that I've written. But it's called Even in the Ragged Things. And it's about a little doll that I had when I was a little girl. Her name was Betsy. She wasn't much to look at. I'm not going to lie to y'all. She was threadbare. She was smudged. She had a button eye that was falling off. But she was mine. She was the first thing that was mine. And I carried her through silence, through shouting, through nights when the dark felt like it might swallow me whole. She didn't speak, but she stayed. And then one day, she was gone. You see, my adopted parents thought that by throwing everything away from the past, it would make everything bright and new. Well, what they didn't realize is that sometimes in the ragged things, we lose pieces of ourselves. And that something that is worn and dirty to us is love. And so when she went away, I didn't really know what to do. Because how can you explain that the ragged things can hold pieces of your soul? And so I never got to say goodbye because I didn't know that I was supposed to. I didn't know that I was going to have to. But you know Betsy, she lives in the quiet corners in the way I cradle grief gently now, and how I remember small kindnesses even when they've been lost. She was my first friend. She was my best friend. And even without her in my arms all these years later, I carry her with me still. Thank you guys for hearing that one. I'd like to close tonight